Okay, it is 10 a.m. Good morning, everybody. Good morning and welcome to the Relationship Satisfaction Series, class number 2. This class is only webinar. This won't be happening in person. So class 2 is only a webinar. Right this moment, everybody is muted. I'm going to unmute just to check in to make sure that sound is okay and that everybody can hear me. So give me a second.
You are now unmuted.
Okay, so everybody's unmuted. Joanne, does my sound okay?
You sound okay, but there's a lot of background noise.
Honey, there's only background noise because I unmuted. Are you telling me there's background noise when I have you muted?
No, there's no background music or noise.
Okay, very good. Somebody else said
Thomas?
You cannot hear me?
Thomas, you sound like you're far away.
Even when I'm unmuted? Excuse me,
Yeah,
even when it's muted,
better.
I do? It sounds better now?
Not great, but I can hear you. I'm going to mute you because there's too much background noise.
No, I'm not going to leave the background noise. I'm going to mute everybody.
You are now muted.
Yeah, so now everybody's muted. The only reason I unmuted and the only reason you heard background noise was because I wanted to check the sound and make sure you could hear me. So I'm asserting that everybody can hear me. If there's any problems with the sound, Joanne or Rasha text me and I'll take a look at the text. Okay, everybody, welcome. Welcome to the call. Welcome and thank you for whatever you worked out to be on this call. I know some of you are still in transit and you're moving around, getting to a stationary place. Get yourself stationary as soon as you can because there are a couple things we're going to do together that you might want to be relaxed and able just to be 100% present. So the assignment from class number 1 was to connect with your communication partners and to notice who's in charge. That is, what personality part is in charge most of the time. Number 2 was to write 2 dialogues that you noticed between 2 or more of your internal personality parts. Most of the time we'll refer to this as thinking, but I wanted you to now start translating your thinking into internal conversations between parts. We'll dig into that a little bit on this call, and we'll do some coaching and some actual work. And then I asked you to choose one day per week to unplug. A day where you have no cell phone, no computer, no TV, no internet, and actually no thinking or creativity. But we didn't stress on that, and we're not going to right now. We're going to ease into this. I can't wait to hear what a lot of you may have dealt with in doing this particular work. So those of you who are in a position right now that you can be seated, be relaxed, sit back silently with your eyes closed. And I'm going to ask you, first of all, just to observe your breathing. Just observe it. Don't change it. You don't even have to talk to yourself about it. Just simply observe the deepness or shallowness of your breathing. And notice as you breathe in, there's a little gap just before you breathe out. And when you breathe out and about to breathe in, notice there's a little gap just before you breathe in. So breathe several times right now and notice and bring attention to the gap. Continue breathing. Continue to notice the gap. Who is experiencing this moment? Who is aware of the breathing? Who is aware of the gap? And there are fleeting thoughts, thoughts that are flying across your brain right now, thoughts that are fleeting. Who is aware of the thoughts? And notice that there are physical sensations. Your butt in the chair, your feet on the ground. There may be some tension, some discomfort, even relaxation. Who is aware of the physical sensations? As we're doing this exercise, you may notice personality parts are rushing in to try to answer these questions. Who or what is experiencing this moment? Who or what is aware of the breathing? Who or what is aware of the thoughts? Who or what is aware of the physical sensations? But it's easy to step back and simply notice they are just personality parts. And you could ask, who is aware of my parts? Continue to be aware of the gap between your breaths. And start to notice a bit of stillness. Allow yourself to relax. Relax into fully being that which is experiencing this very moment. And keep asking yourself the questions, who am I really? Who is here really? Who is present? Who is aware? Who is experiencing this very moment? Allow the boundaries to drop away as we begin to be together on this webinar. Allow the experience of us, this group, sharing the same energy field, connected. Thank you. You can open your eyes and bring yourself present. So the perspective of our work is, you could say that human beings are higher functioning animals, perhaps, and that we're unique among all earthly life forms because we have a multifunctional brain. We have a multifunctional nervous and hormonal system and specialized organs that allow you and I to see, to smell, to feel, to hear, to taste, and to sense the things around us. And we also develop and are a part of a collective mind. Do you have to think to have seeing happen? Do you have to think or make a decision to have hearing happen? Do you have to think, make a decision, or have any effort around having smelling happen, breathing happen, sensing happen, feeling happen, tasting happen? No. Our brains allow us to create parts to see, smell, hear, taste, and sense the things around us intuitively. And in the same vein, you'll notice as we go through this work and the process, and you begin to investigate these intuitive actions, and as you begin and continue uncovering the personality parts that are actually running your life, starting to distinguish them as individuals so that you can see them separate from yourself as well as part of yourself, you will start to cause and notice a natural shift in who you're being, a kind of transformation that we all long for. And the beauty is, it too will happen intuitively. So as we begin to go through the assignments and the work that you've done, you might refer to any shift that you might already be present to or starting to notice. Now, I'm going to unmute the phones in just a second. So before I do that, I'm going to ask everybody on the call if you would please mute your own phone, okay? So that any background noise will disappear and nobody has to deal with that. And then as you share, you'll unmute yourself by using your own phone. You'll say your first name, and we'll begin to do the work on this call. So I'm unmuting the phones now.
You are now unmuted.
Very good. Okay, so it sounds like most of you or all of you are muted. Thank you for doing that.
Thomas,
and
how
now
many
we're going to look.
I'm sorry, this is Joe.
Yeah, Joe.
I didn't get how we mute.
Do you have a cell phone?
Yeah, no, actually, radio phone.
Okay, then you might not be able to. I don't know how you mute your phone, but I want everybody to use their own personal little mute button is what I'm asking you to do.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you don't have one, Joe, just make sure it's quiet around you. And right now you sound fine, but thank you for asking, okay?
Very good.
Okay, so between class 1 and today, I had asked you guys to connect with your communication partners, and most everybody that I've talked to did that work. So I want to acknowledge the integrity of the work that's getting done, and I want to acknowledge the integrity of the people who reached out and made sure that those calls happened. Now, this isn't to diminish anybody who may not have done it, but it is intended to have you step up. So whatever that looks like for you, just keep it in mind. Okay, I hear dishes in the background. Whoever that is, either stop moving or mute your phone. So I want to hear from a couple of you on what happened in those communications. What opened up for you? What is some of the parts that you started to see? Pretty much anything that happened in those communications would be valuable to share right now. So who will we hear from first?
Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie.
So parts. I did notice a couple of different conversations the last couple weeks.
Okay, before you continue, Charlie.
Yes.
Did you and Hunter connect in between the course?
Yes.
Okay, what I want to hear about are the conversations that you and she had and what came out of that for you.
I think we did. Well, I'm not really present to that, but I know we talked about parts. I know we talked about parts.
Mm-hmm.
And
okay, so go ahead and you can continue on the train you were on. That's fine.
Okay. So what I'm present to about which part is in charge most of the time is the worrier, disempowering part.
So there's so you have a part that worries and is disempowered. That's
Yes.
what you're saying. Okay.
Yes.
And what you noticed is that particular part seems to be in charge most of the time.
Yes.
Okay. Now,
Well,
what does it look like being in charge? What does it feel like? Tell us a little bit about your experience of the worried part.
How it occurs for me, or what I'm present to, is there's a conversation of always the worst outcome.
Very good. Got it. Anything else about it?
No.
Is that part anxious?
Anxious. I would say no.
Okay. Is that part sad, unhappy, anything like that around that part?
What I want to say is there's like this feeling, like a subtle feeling of helplessness.
Got it. Okay, very, very good. Okay, got that. And it's in charge most of the time.
Yes. Well,
okay.
Let me say I'm present. I'm really getting present to it.
Yeah.
Whether it's in charge most of the time, I'm just going to say it's what I'm really present to right now.
All right, very good. Well, right now, and right now, that's a good way to distinguish it.
Okay.
Because everybody, one of the things that you're going to notice in my interactions with you is we're digging down, okay? And why are we digging down? Well, consider that the personality parts are all blended. And we call that me. We call that I. Right now what's happening is you're distinguishing these parts so that you can see them individually. And now today, what I'm going to support you around is turning them into individuals. So Charlie, this particular part, and you're doing really great, and thank you for doing this work, does it have or does it feel a particular age? Does it feel young? Does it feel mature? How does this feel as far as age?
I'm looking. I want to say late teens, early 20s.
Okay, very good. So teenager-like. Excellent. So what's something common about teenagers that we know? Is that you breathing, Charlie, or is that somebody else?
I don't think it's me, but it could be.
Okay, so somebody you're breathing into your mouthpiece. You need to mute.
So what?
Yeah.
What do we know about teenagers? What do we know about?
Something common about teenagers. Number one, teenagers are unsettled, right? They're going through transition. So I would assert that a part of your experience is one of being unsettled. That this part leaves you worried, as you said, and maybe a little feeling unsettled. And I'm curious if that is over there with you.
I'd have to think about that. It doesn't strike me.
Ring?
It doesn't.
Okay.
I don't resonate with that. No.
Very good. Now, everybody, this is important. Generally speaking, when you're speaking of parts, you don't have to look very hard. So, like when I asked him, how old does it feel? He was pretty quick to say, well, it feels like it's like a teenager. So I say that because you want to go with your first instinctive answer. So if it's not a fit or if it doesn't resonate, then you just gently move on. And I'm sharing this with you for two reasons. One, you're doing some of this work on yourself. But number two, you really are being trained to engage with others, so that you can really support somebody else to dig into parts of their personality that maybe they hadn't paid attention to. So really good work, Charlie. Here's the only thing I'm going to end with on yours, and that is, if this part was going to be called anything, what might it be called? It could be a name. It could be a thing. Is it male or female? Or is it no sex at all?
I would say it's male, but...
Okay, so it's a teenage male,
yeah.
And what might you call it?
Uncertainty.
Okay, very good. So I want you to write down, this part is called uncertainty, and that's how you'll refer to this part. So if you and I are talking, and I'll say, so Charlie, who am I talking to right now? And if that's the part, you'll say you're talking to uncertainty. Okay, very good. Well, I might alter the interaction with uncertainty, because what I really want is interactions with more of your true nature, more of your true self. So I might say to uncertainty, and right this moment, I'm going to speak to uncertainty. So Charlie, over there where uncertainty is, are you willing to step aside just for a few moments so that Charlie and I can dig into some other aspects of your personalities? And that part says what?
I'm not sure.
Well, it's either yes or no.
Yes. Got it. Yes.
Yeah, it's either yes or no. And here's the thing. We're trying to create that part as an individual, you see. The ones that dominate, if you can get them like an individual, then some natural shifts will start to take place. See, I'll share with you, like when I first did this work, I had the fast and furious part and the defensive part, and those two were mostly in control. Well, what shifted See, so now I'm doing the work with you guys again, and my current experience is the casual part, which is, by the way, the fast and furious part transformed, and the content part. And that came from transforming the defensive part. You with me? So,
yes.
Charlie, if this part were to transform, do you think you would have more true nature and more self, capital S, self-leadership over where you are?
Absolutely.
You would. And wouldn't it be a good thing if that part transformed naturally versus you having to do some kind of process on it?
Yes, that really resonates.
Absolutely. And that is our ultimate goal. Charlie, thank you for being first up. Thank you for the interaction. I appreciate it.
Thank
you can put yourself on mute. And I'd like to hear from someone else.
This is Rachel.
Yes, Rachel. Good morning.
Good morning. I have three parts that I was working on. The most dominant part for me is a really strong angry part.
A really strong what?
Anger.
Angry part. Yes, got it.
I feel this most of the time. I feel very reactionary, or like people are out to get me and I need to defend myself.
Yes.
It also comes up when I don't defend myself, or I'm overlooked, for someone else gives credit for my work. The anger up. And so I have been working on developing the third part, which is the neutral part, which can kind of I can take the power from the angry part and put it into the neutral part, and that kind of I don't react as much. So I've been working on that a lot this week, and I've had stressful situations where people have not done what they said, and I'm upset at them, but I don't want to get to the angry part. I'd rather be in the neutral part because it feels so much better, and that's become more important than satisfying my angry part.
Yes. Good work, Rachel. Good work. And does the angry part also have experiences of being paranoid and left out?
Yeah, those are like the top two things.
Okay, yeah, so add that to the list of the angry part so that you see it as two of the strong attributes that show up. And I want to acknowledge you for moving the energy. And I'm going to use this conversation a little bit. Is there anything else you need to say before I jump in?
I can't think of anything right now.
Yeah, very good work, and thank you for sharing that. So you can go ahead and mute yourself.
Okay.
And what I want to put into this space for everybody, you could hear in the interaction with Rachel, she talked about energy. So I want you to get that you and I are nothing but energy, and we exist in an energy field, and the only reason we show up the way we do is the vibrational frequency is distinct, and that has us show up. So by the same token, each of our personality parts have a particular vibrational frequency, a particular energy. Your dominant part is going to be the one that has the most energy. And you can use your mind's eye to see that energy. With Rachel, she and I put a color to it and move the color from one part to another as a practice. in order to start taking advantage of your own personal power in moving energy from either one part to another or even one emotion to another. So very good work. I'd like to hear from someone else, please. We're going to take one more in this vein.
Can I speak, Susan?
Yes, please, go ahead, and then I'll take Susan.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you referring to me?
Well, hang on, Joe. So I heard Joe, I heard Susan, but I thought I heard somebody.
Yeah, me,
I don't know.
Hunter.
Yeah, Hunter, go ahead.
Who's
so
going?
You always say your first name. That's the way to do it. Hunter, go ahead.
So I'm going ahead, correct?
Yeah, please.
So interesting for me. I noticed that I've got an echo of myself.
Yeah, go ahead. Just let it be. We can't hear it.
Okay. I think it's on my computer, actually. I'll move away from it. I noticed that when I spoke to Charlie, I was like all gung-ho. I was really into distinguishing my parts.
Yes.
And then I was supposed to call him back. And I didn't. And I thought, what am I doing here? Like, I'm into this. This resonates with me. And yet I'm dropping the ball.
Yes.
And what I saw was that whole thing of sabotage, actually. Like this, I've got a really big sabotage part that I didn't realize was quite as strong as it is.
Yes.
But underneath all of my parts seems to be fear.
Right.
Now, I've known this about myself, that fear generates a lot of things, but I've never really, I've had moments where it doesn't grip me as much.
Yep.
But there's when you said there's an energy to these parts, and I really get that energy. It's so, I feel like it constrict. Actually, I don't really quite know where I'm going with this share. I had a thought when I began. I feel like I'm rambling.
Well, one of the things that I'm hearing in your speaking is there is a sabotaging part. And that part you said you've noticed now a little louder than you realized it was.
Yes. But
and then you also mentioned fear.
Yeah, and there's shame in there too. I've got way more shame than I ever realized.
Okay, so there's a child, there's an inner child that has shame. So that's a separate part, okay? So I want you to distinguish, number one, there's a sabotaging part. Number two, there's an inner child that brings shame. They're two different parts, okay?
Yeah.
Everybody listen to this. The inner child is generally at the center of all the other parts. So if you have a sabotaging part and you have a shamed part, I want you to start to notice where the sabotaging part is doing whatever it's doing to protect the shamed child. See, it might be destructive to the things around you, but from its point of view, that destruction is necessary to protect the shame or the child that feels or experiences shame. Are you with me so far?
Yeah, I'm going with you. I'm not quite sure I'm totally with it, but keep speaking. It'll fall into place for me.
Okay. Well, I'm going a different direction now. So that, just make some notes on and see what gets formulated on its own, okay? But fear, everybody, fear, 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 fear. Okay, so fear is an acronym for false evidence appearing real. Now, if it appears real, it is real to you. And all your actions and all your parts or personality parts' actions will respond to that fear as though it is real. It will respond to that evidence as though it's real, whatever the evidence is. So here's the distinction. There is authentic fear. And then there's inauthentic fear. Authentic fear, somebody's got a gun to your head, well, you should be afraid.
Right.
You know, you run out in front of a truck going 100 miles an hour, or even 10 miles an hour, really. You know, that's authentic fear. You see a lion about to, you know, jump you, there's authentic fear. But most fear that you and I deal with is imaginary. We live in a story about life, and the story might sound like, I just don't have enough. I am just not enough. What if I run out of money? What if my lover leaves me? What if I never find a husband? What if, you know, and we live inside those imaginary conversations as though they're real, and they produce a kind of evidence that has us responding to that evidence and living our life from something that's not actually happening. We're together?
Yeah, and I would say too, there's a chemistry that the brain produces that I think then we get addicted to.
Oh, very good. That could be a whole other conversation that would be very accurate. Okay, great. So for you, what I want to leave you with are two specific parts: the inner child, and the inner child right now deals with shame. And then there is the sabotager, and I want to talk to you more about that one. What are some other attributes that show up around the one that sabotages?
Attributes? What do you mean by that?
What does it feel like? What are some ways that it acts? See, it sabotages, but there's things about the sabotage. There's ways that particular part is. Like if you remember Rachel, you know, she has this angry part, but it's also paranoid. It also has a fear of being left out. There's a lot of different attributes that make up that personality part.
Yeah. Okay, I got it. Definitely a not enough part. And then when the not enough part comes out, then I'll retreat, like I'll hide, actually. I'll either withdraw from conversation. I do that less now than ever before. Or I'll just kind of go, I'll hide in some way, whatever form that is. So there's hiding, retreating, and what was the other thing I said?
No, that's all I got was retreating and hiding, but that's good.
Retreating and hiding and feeling not enough. Good. So when you feel all of that right now, so I want you to allow yourself to feel all of those attributes and to really be present to the part that sabotages. Just be that part with me right now. Yep.
And tell me, how old does that part feel?
Really?
Is there an age? Really young. Okay.
I want to say probably maybe 6 or 7, probably.
Okay, so we'll just call it 6 for now. And does it feel feminine, masculine, no sex at all? What is the energy? Does it feel?
I'm not aware of the sex.
Okay, so I'm just going to say non. All right, very good. And then if you were going to call it something, is there a name that would fit this part for you?
It's my birth name, actually. That would be the Kathy part of me.
There you go, Kathy part. Very good. So that's what we're going to start to call that one, okay? So when you and Charlie work together, you're going to refer to his part. Oh, shoot, I forgot what he called his part. The uncertain part, Charlie, is that what you called it? Uncertainty, I think is what he named it. And Kathy, yours would be Kathy.
Right.
I mean, Hunter, yours would be Kathy.
Yeah.
And then you refer to it that way, because if you refer to it that way, it creates it like an individual. Do you follow?
Oh, yeah.
And once you create anything, everybody, when you create anything as an individual, another name for that is distinguishing. You
Right.
distinguish that part separate from you so that you can see it, you can move energy from and to it. It becomes palpable, and that's how transformation occurs. So very good, Kathy. Hunter. I haven't called you Kathy. I haven't called you Kathy in so long, and now I'm talking to the Kathy part. But anyway, very good work. Thank you for jumping in. If you would put yourself on pause, and then we're going to move to Joe.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe, for waiting.
Absolutely. So the dominant part that I see going on for myself is the responsible part.
Mm-hmm.
And the interplay seems to take place with what I might call a play part.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy playing sports, so there's this interplay between the responsible part and the play part for me.
So in other words, those two are in communication a lot, or are they like in a tug of war?
It's a tug of war.
Tug of war, got it. Very good. And which part usually wins?
Responsible part.
The responsible part usually wins. And does that win feel like a victory to the whole of you? Or does it feel like a compromise? What does it feel like when the responsible part wins?
I would have to say that there's some angst. There's like, I wouldn't call it a kowtow, but what was the word that you just used?
I said, what does it feel like?
No, there was a word that you used behind that.
Sorry.
That's all right. I would say that there's certainly compromise that takes place. I think that was the word that you used.
Oh, yes, I did.
But there's angst with it. It's like, don't really want to do that, but okay.
Gotcha. Okay, very good. So for some people, the responsible part, they would have connected to their true nature. It would be a victory. I hear for you that it is a false self. This responsible part is not connected to your true nature. It's not connected to your true capital S self, because it's robbing you of the very things that we all definitely want more expression of, and that is the 7 C's: calmness, curiosity, connectedness, confidence, creativity, courage, and clarity. So I'm very happy to see that you've distinguished the responsible part and the tug of war that it is with the play part, because I think the two of these, as they transform, there will be a part that you never knew existed. Just like, Joe, for me, the casual and content part, I didn't really know that part. And for those of you who I'm getting to name your parts, I call this part Timmy, because you see, when I was a little boy, these were parts of my personality that I remember, but I didn't remember them until the transformation occurred. And it's my most peaceful part. I can hear more. In our interactions, my coaching is more succinct. I have more of the unique contribution that I am for the planet. And all of us during this program are going to dig into what is our unique contribution. And you'll start to notice, as you become more your true nature, you hone more into what that gift or that contribution is. So very good work, Joe. We're not going to do anything else with this.
Sure.
And thank you for your contribution and your sharing, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, put yourself on pause if you can. And I think it was Susan Buki that we had next. Was it, Susan?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Hi.
Yeah, and thank you. The last was it Joe? That was very helpful for me. So the two parts that I identified were I called it the knows better part. I think from the call, but as I was listening to this last sharing, I was also calling it like the self manager, like the one who's but then it is the responsible part. And then the other part that I identified when we worked together was the defensive, angry part. But I also noticed there was, so the manager or the responsible part is always listening to the different other parts, but that's the main part. But then this defensive, angry part, there's the good girl and the bad girl part of the defensive, angry part. So, like, as long as the defensive, angry part is the good girl, she'll just be the sarcastic, and she'll just be in, as long as she can talk to the manager part, she won't say those bad things out in the world. She'll be content, because at least somebody's listening.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
But the bad girl, like the one that's like a total brat, like totally so tired, just wants to have a tantrum and strangle that person that she's angry at.
Yeah.
The know better part, like the manager and the responsible part, has no patience for that part. Just wants to just take that little brat and put her in a room or put her in the bathroom or go in the bath. I put myself in the bathtub. I lock the door. Like anything to keep that part from interacting, like with my husband, for instance.
Got it. Now, do you have any hatred or disregard for the little brat?
No, but I have a lot of fear. I have a lot of fear.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Very, very good.
She's going to spoil everything that I've worked for.
Right. That's good. Good work, Susan. Thank you. Excellent. Put yourself on pause. Yeah, thank you. Now, unless there's somebody who's anxious to jump in here, we're going to move on. So is there anybody else? Say your first name quickly.
Susie.
All right. Aha, Susie.
Hi.
Well, tell you this, Susie. Let me say something before you begin. We are going to move into sharing the two dialogues you've written up. Would that be equally good for you to share, or do you want to do the parts?
Sure. Can you remind me?
Okay. So we're shifting gears, everybody, and you can always overlap your sharing, so don't think you're going to get stuck not being able to put out there what you want to, okay? Susie, that includes you. But I asked you to write up two internal dialogues that you noticed, and that would be parts conversations. We refer to it as thinking. Two parts talking to themselves. When you think back, and we heard Susan Buki just talk, and she was talking about the little brat interacting with the I know better. That was a dialogue between two parts. And the intention of this exercise, everybody, is it further identifies these parts individually versus I'm talking to the little brat. No, the little brat is being talked to by the I know better part. That was in Susan's conversation. Is this making sense, Susie?
Yes.
Okay, so did you come up with or notice two internal dialogues, one of which you can share?
Yes. That is actually has been running my life. Well, I'll just go ahead and say what was going on. I came up with one. The conversation was that I couldn't be celebrated in any way, shape, or form. And I actually, in an energy form, brought that to myself, if that makes sense. When I was younger, that was the energy of my family. And we weren't celebrated as children. Birthdays, graduations, special occasions, there was no celebration. So when I grew up, that energy followed me throughout my life. And the second dialogue was, but why can't you see me? I want to be seen.
Yeah.
And those two were going back and forth. And the second dialogue was, I'm going to be seen at all costs, even if it's negative.
Yeah.
So there was this circle.
To that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. I wasn't trying to.
Well, I'm.
We all recognize that.
Yeah, I'm done.
Oh, okay. Very good. Well, thank you, Susie. I appreciate it. Very, very good. So, everybody, we're now looking at the internal dialogues. And I had asked you to take a look at 2 or more parts interacting with each other. So, anybody who has something that you did that you can share about, that would be excellent. I don't mind if the same people share, but I do want to have everybody interact at some level. And I know that it's uncomfortable for some, right? It's uncomfortable for some to speak out loud, and it's even more uncomfortable when you're speaking just on a phone to people. But the more you're able to do that, the more value you produce for other people as well as yourself. So if I could get 1 or 2 more people to jump in here, that would be awesome.
Joanne?
Doug.
Okay, Joanne and then Doug.
So I actually did the homework written down where I wrote down what the 2 were saying. I did it with you as well. And I took on the practice of just trying to be conscious of one of the conversations each day. And what I'm present to is my parts don't shut up. They have a lot to say. They argue amongst themselves. And it got to the point that it's comical. So
yes.
at the beginning, I could see that I would take these thoughts as they were serious and needed to be taken as they were pearls of wisdom. And now it's like, oh, yeah, that's so-and-so sharing again. Thanks for sharing, you know.
Yeah, very good. Very, very good. Anything else about that, Joanne?
No, other than it does give me a giggle often during the day.
Yeah, and just curiosity, what part are you noticing so far to be the most dominant part that you've discovered?
Well, there's actually 4 that seem to do most of the talking.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me go back to my notes where I wrote down who was speaking, because I actually wrote it like it was a script. So there's the defender, the compassionate, the sneaky part, which I'm pissed off that I have a sneaky part, the abandoned girl, and then the illusionist speaks like it's the voice of God, commenting on everybody else's comments.
Very good. So the abandoned child. So just like when I was talking to Hunter, she has the shame child. I want you to start imagining, and Hunter, I'm talking to you also at this moment. I want you to start imagining that child is in the center of all your other parts. So in your mind's eye, start to notice like a circle, and that child's in the middle, and the other parts are somehow surrounding the child, okay? Nothing for you to do with it yet other than using that image, okay? Joanne?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you for doing that, and thank you for sharing. You can put yourself on mute. And now Doug.
Hello.
Hello.
So,
good morning.
Good morning. I'm not really sure I know the exact parts of the conversation that I had between my 2 parts, but I was at the sink getting ready to do. I was cleaning up something, and there were just dishes in the sink. And I have this part that likes to, I guess, find error in other people's ways and then just ride that.
Well, we call that. Don't we call that the judgmental part?
All right, so the judgmental part was added, back to its normal judging. But in the past, it would ride it because it feels good, to pick out these parts and just to keep going. And I mean, who knows where I would end up? But it was just a couple of seconds, and this other part came in and said, "Don't go there," and that was all it took. And it was. So, I don't know.
Very good.
What I would call that part, but it's
well, I want to point to something in your speaking, and I want to kind of bring other people's attention to it. So first, I want to acknowledge that you and I started working together some time ago, and we have been working on parts for a while. So there are some things that you will notice that will come up with some people that we've done some of this work with, where you'll start seeing some mature parts step in a little faster and have more to say. So, Doug, that part, I assert, is one of your mature parts. I think it's a part that's definitely connected to your true nature, and it's interested in bringing harmony to all the parts. And everybody, harmony is ultimately what we're after, because the harmony is what allows for the actual transformation. So that's really awesome news, Doug, that one can step in and very quickly say, don't go there, and the other part submits. Boom. Done deal. Beautiful. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Jean?
Put yourself on mute. Yes, go right ahead, Jean.
Hi, everybody. I really, I wrote on the dialogue, 2 different dialogues when I was unplugged, and I really resisted doing it. I don't know why. I just had resistance. And so when I did it, though, it was so awesome to really, putting pen to paper and putting down, what the parts were saying in response to each other. And both times, both different dialogues, when I got to the end, they were working with each other, willing to find a compromise or figure it out together. Where in the beginning it was much more contentious. So that was really surprising to me and wonderful.
Yeah. And and Jean, you and I also have been doing work on parts for quite some time, and I hear in your speaking a lot of harmony. And you and I talked a little bit about that already, and I just acknowledged the natural transition that's occurred over there for you. And one of the things that I want to put in is that even though we've brought harmony, I'm noticing for myself, because I don't allow myself not to do the same work I'm having everybody else do. So even though I've done it, and actually you could say I've done it 30, 40 times because I've led that many people through it, I notice that as I'm doing it again, and I start to notice the parts, the new parts, the transformed parts coming out, that it seems to bring more and more harmony more often. And that's a beautiful thing, right? It's a beautiful thing. So Thank you for doing the work, Jean, and thank you for sharing. You can go ahead and put yourself on mute. And we're going to move into the next conversation, okay? Thank you. So as you guys continue the distinguishing, what will start to rise to the top are the parts that I call your disowned, hated parts. And we all have parts of our personality that we have disowned, hated, and in some cases, those parts have been hidden from our view. Now, it's not hidden from everybody's view necessarily, but for a lot of us it is. And when I started this work and started to uncover the disowned and hated parts over here where I am, there were some parts that showed up, and I'm going to share those parts with you now. And I'm also going to share with you that which they've transformed to. So I had one part, in the beginning I called it my feminine part. And then I realized I was trying to soften it because I hated the part so much. And I realized it's not the feminine part, it's the sissy part. And that part was disowned, hated, tried to hide it, put it aside, and one of the ways you'll notice your own disowned parts is when you find yourself being judgmental of other people that might have a similar part, but you don't realize necessarily that you're projecting in the beginning. And I started to notice that, and that's how it really showed up for me. And that part has transformed into the heart part. It's transformed into the compassionate part. And I don't mean compassionate like I'm walking around now and people who have that part I'm compassionate for. No, that part was always representative of the compassion that was available over here where I was. But when you hate and disown any aspect of yourself, there's a piece that gets blocked off and you don't know it. And it was that part for me. Another hated part was my jealous part. I would have jealousy for no reason. It would just show up. And it would show up, oh my God, please pause. Whoever's got that beeping going on in the background, it's piercing. And evidently you're not listening. Okay, I'm going to mute everybody. That's bad.
You are now muted.
Wow, I'm still hearing the ringing in my ears. Okay, so the jealous part, which has since transformed into the accepting part, but this accepting part is territorial. And I've noticed the territorial part, I haven't decided yet if it's really connected to true capital S self, true nature, or if there's some more transformation to take place there. But right now, it is a part that I actually do like. I like that part. So those are a couple disowned, hated parts that showed up over here in my world, the distinguishing of which has given me an access to parts of myself that got blocked off. Now, we're always going to be looking at what's connecting to the manager, the coach, the mentor, director. You might have a lot of different ways that you could relate to this one, but this part, whichever you want to call it, is connected to true self. It's the one, generally the quiet voice that we all talk about. It's the nurturer. It's the one who will say, if I had just listened to myself, I wouldn't be in this mess. This part, though it's more passive, is the wisest and the strongest part. Now, when we bring energy to this part, that energy supports the harmony of all the personality parts. So what you're going to be measuring for, starting from today, is the qualities of calmness, curiosity, connectedness, confidence, creativity, courage, and clarity. In a moment, I'll put a slide up with those on it if you want to copy them down. When you consider people that you admire, people that you feel supported by, they probably show you a lot of self, capital S self, energy in their relationship with you. So let's put those 7 C's up. There you go. So if anybody needs to copy those down, feel free to do that. And the next conversation, and this will be another opportunity to share a little bit. So I'm going to open up the line and hope that piercing sound is gone.
You are now unmuted.
Unplugging. So here's the question. Did you do it? If yes, what did it take? If yes, what did it provide? If no, what got in the way? And what can you distinguish as the resistance to it? So I'd like to hear from a couple of you. I want to first read you a quote from John Gardner. He says, "Human beings have always employed an enormous amount of clever devices for running away from ourselves. We can keep ourselves busy, fill our lives with so many diversions, stuff our heads with so much knowledge, involve ourselves with so many people, and cover so much ground that we never have time to probe the fearful and wonderful world within. By midlife, most of us are accomplished fugitives from ourselves." So let me hear from you your experience around unplugging.
Shep?
Yeah, Shep.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Morning. Good.
Hey, man. I had problems doing that, man. I just couldn't do
it. Tell
it.
Me.
Well, no, I mean, it's got to be a gradual process. I can't just do it all at one time because I need my phone to communicate with contractors because, you know, I'm getting some stuff done on my house. Plus, I'm kind of hooked on some soap operas on TV, you know, and I try, you know, I kind of figured it out. I think I got to do it gradually. You know, I don't think I can just do it unless I'm forced to do it. I don't think I can
what would it look like if you did it gradually? Give me an idea of what that looks like.
Well, it'd be like I could disconnect the TV and not look at the TV. I'd have to disconnect it. Okay. I have to make sure that I communicate with certain people that will call me and freak out if I don't answer. So I'd have to communicate. I'm gonna be, you know, I'd have to just communicate, and then I think it would be all right. I think I'll be able to. It'll be a gradual thing though, because I tried doing it and I was slipping left and right. The phone would ring. You know, I'd say I don't have to answer it, but I'm glad I did because it was.
Yeah, I got it. Well, one thing about the phone you could do is change the voicemail. The voicemail would say, "Thank you for calling. I've unplugged today, therefore I'm not taking any messages. Leave your name and number, and I will return phone calls tomorrow between 10 and noon." You could do that if you wanted to. And, by the way, this is definitely part of the course. It's part of the assignment, but it's also ultimately a choice. Because I'll tell you, it's not easy for me either. I did unplug. I unplugged last Sunday and this past Sunday, and I will unplug tomorrow. And I found myself, Shep, let me see. I don't think I answered the phone. Oh, I picked up a text without even realizing it. I heard it beep, and I went to it, and I picked it up, and I caught myself, and then I went ahead and I turned the phone off. And it occurred to me, why did I even have the phone on, you know? And then there was one, and I used the GPS. Because those of you who know me well know that I can't get around anywhere, even in my own damn neighborhood, without the GPS. I use the GPS. But anyway, it's a very interesting endeavor. And for me, you know, if I were to share what did it provide, well, it provided two things. One, I solved the addiction. I did see that. And number two, I really noticed myself giving me to other aspects of life that I hadn't really paid much attention to. So, I don't know. I'm going to keep doing it, and I'll invite you to keep doing it, and we'll see what we get. But thank you for sharing, Shep. Let's hear from somebody else. Did you do it or did you not do it?
This is Tanya.
Deborah here.
Okay, Tanya.
Hi.
Hi.
So I unplugged. I unplugged, and I was really amazed at like how difficult it felt, like almost compulsive. Like I actually turned off my phone, I put it in a drawer, I told my family what was going on, and I didn't know what to do with myself. Like I was like, it kind of felt like a weird drug withdrawals. Like I was like twitchy, and I was like, oh my God, what should I do now? What am I going to do now? And stuff. And the second time I did it, I've been doing it on Mondays, and so the second time I did it, I noticed I was having lunch, and I was really struggling. And one of the things that I'm, working on with my ED recovery is to really kind of be more mindful around my eating. And so I noticed how much more present I was able to be with my meal when I wasn't being distracted by my phone or something like that. And like I was really able to like, okay, like what am I eating? What does it feel like? What does it taste like? And how the next day when I was having lunch, and of course I had my phone there again, I was like, wait, why am I doing this? Like I know this actually is hurting me physically to do. Like why am I sitting here with my phone when it was such a different experience the day before? So it was really amazing.
Perfect. Good work.
Thank you.
Hi, Deborah here.
Was that Deborah?
Yes.
Hi, Deborah.
Hey, Thomas. Thanks. Well, I have a lot of resistance to it too. I have to say I've done it partially, which is definitely kind of my part. One of my parts is, what can I get away with?
Yes.
Yeah, and but there's some questions too, like we have discussed. Well, now I'm hearing no phone, but for a while, phone was preferred over like an internet search, like because it was still connecting with people.
Well, now, I don't know. You and I did have a conversation, that's true, but it was always no phone, no internet, no TV. It was always that.
Oh, okay. What about audio? So audiobook probably is the same, but it's okay to read?
Well, when you and I talked about it, we looked at audiobook. Remember I had played Pandora, which was on the internet, and it was my iPad. And so, you and I both have a part that likes to get away with stuff. So we were like, oh, yeah, we're listening to music. Come on. I think that was me talking, right? But then this past Sunday, I took all of that out, and I realized, no, it really is. No TV, no cell phone, no internet, none of the things that create distraction from us being with us, being with ourselves. And, of course, if you're with other people, being with other people. So I don't know if that helps or hinders, but the game is no TV, no internet, and no phone.
Okay.
Thanks.
It does.
That was great. That was great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. There was somebody else who typed in, but I didn't.
This is Vondia.
Oh, Vondia. Way in the background there, Vondia, darling. Hello.
Way in the background. Hi. So I did it 100%, and I felt like I was let out of jail.
Really? That's great.
I loved it. I was so glad that I didn't have to look at any phone or computer. I just really, those kind of things, I'm not liking them very much. And I do them to keep up with the times and communicating. But I noticed I went to my favorite coffee shop, had a tea, and sat there and watched a mother and her daughter. The mother was probably in her 30s, and the daughter was 6 years old. And they got a beautiful meal. It was around 10:30 in the morning, and the mother got on her phone, and the little girl sat there and ate all by herself with no communication. It was very unsettling to my heart, and especially, having lost Rochelle, and I look at things like, if you only knew how important it is to be with each other. And I walked in the park, and I just really, actually, it was a very spiritual experience for me, and I really loved it. And I'm, as you all know, pretty much an extrovert and love to talk and so forth and interact, but it was very calming and freeing for my spirit and my soul.
That's awesome, Vondia. Thank you for sharing that. I'm gonna have you in the back of my mind all day tomorrow as I unplug and really work to do it 100% with no cheating. Thank you for that. It's really, really great.
Thank
and then
you.
there was, I think it was Jean that I heard in the background.
Yes, hi again.
Hi.
I was on a retreat with a girlfriend doing a spa weekend.
Yeah.
And so in some ways it was kind of easy to do, but it definitely still was conscious. Like I texted everybody ahead of time, emailed everybody ahead of time, like, I'm unplugging, no worries, I'll get back to you in a day, And but it was very similar to Vondia. Like, I really loved it. Like, I took walks, I noticed nature, and I had conversations with people that I might not normally have conversations with because I would have been checking my phone. And it was fabulous. And the only question I had, and I didn't end up doing it, but it's like, can I listen to the radio? Because I have a bunch of projects to do at home where I need to go through boxes, and I didn't necessarily want to do it in absolute quiet.
Yeah.
But I didn't turn on the radio because I thought, well, it's technology. It's kind of taking me out of my mind or out of me.
Yeah.
But I love to sing, so I wanted to be singing to the radio while I was doing this. So I kind of wanted to ask you that question.
Well, here's what I'm going to say. We're all looking for little ways. We're all looking for little ways to satisfy ourselves, right? And
yeah.
So I'm just going to give you the basics, and that is no TV, no internet, no phone. And right now, that's the agreement.
Okay.
So, however you wiggle anything in or around that is up to you for now, because this will get a little. Just to let you all know, this will get a little tougher later. So when Jeff talked about gradually easing in, what I didn't tell him was we are gradually easing in. But enjoy it. This is not to have anybody suffer. This is really to just enjoy some new aspect of ourselves and get in touch with something. So thank you.
And I really loved it. I have to say. I really did.
The first week I didn't like it much. Last week I liked it more. And tomorrow I'm committed to loving it. So we shall see. Thanks, Sheen. Anybody else on that one? One more person? Did you unplug or not?
This is Rasha.
Hey, Rasha. Good morning.
Good morning. So I unplugged last week. I was out of town. And kind of like Vondia, my feeling was, yay, like I could get away with something because it does come closer to my nature. But what I noticed is it's the part that wants to isolate.
Oh.
So it's the part that's like, I can't talk, I can't text you back because this is part of what I'm doing, right? Because the people I'm surrounded by, at the time, it was the mode of communication. I was out of town. And it's funny because Ed goes, well, can't you text them? I'm like, nope, I'm unplugging today. I don't have my cell phone. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. But it was interesting to watch the part that was like, yeah. So there is a part in me that, and you and I have talked about this, Thomas, before, which is like it can call it a boundary or it can call it, it's a standoffish part is really what it is. And it's a part that wants to isolate. So it was interesting observing that part. practicing tomorrow, right? So it's the day I'm taking on is Sunday. But where I notice the most reaction is from the people around me. So it's less so for me to unplug. It's more so for, like, you know, my spouse, or like, where were you? Like, couldn't you just text me back? There isn't as much understanding in the community around me.
Oh, interesting. Okay, got it. Thank you. I'm going to now mute everybody.
You are now muted.
Okay, so the next screen that I'm going to show is your assignment. Our call is not complete, but I want to make sure that everybody has the assignment. I will then lead you through one last conversation that's relatively short but important. So in the meantime, if you would, jot down your assignment. Number 1, be parts conscious. So let me tell you what I mean when I say be parts conscious. Just like when we were talking on the phone on this call, you heard people say, a part of me this, a part of me that. I noticed a part of me. I want you to continue this way of thinking and speaking. So when you're speaking to other people and you're explaining something, you can very naturally, without raising an eyebrow, you can very naturally say, well, a part of me feels X, Y, and Z, while another part of me feels or sees or thinks A, B, C. Allow yourself to be parts conscious. Don't worry, this isn't forever. This is just until we get parts distinguished. I want you to invite your parts to show up in your dreams, in your physical experiences, in your thoughts. Make sure you have something to note on. A little 3x5 notebook in your back pocket, a little recorder on your phone. Whatever you see, note it immediately and name them if you can. I'm finding if you don't do it immediately, trying to gather it up later is a little more difficult. Now, when you invite them into your dreams, be sure that you're verbal. So when I go to bed, if I'm going to invite my parts to show up in my dream, I literally say, okay, I want to hear from you tonight. Any personality parts that, you know, want to get expressed, I'm inviting you into my dreams. Please, no nightmares. You guys, I have found, and I've done parts work long enough now and with enough people that I can tell you that when you invite parts to your dreams, for some people, it will rally up nightmares. But I have also found if you're willing to say, please, no nightmares, they honor that. Also, if you have problems sleeping, you can actually say, so I know there's parts of you that think we need to stay awake. There's parts of you that maybe don't feel safe. There's parts of you that maybe think this is the time to have conversation. I'm inviting you to rest and resume in the morning. Let's sleep tonight, and you'll be amazed at the kind of night's sleep you'll get. Now, as you're doing this work, especially during this period, disowned parts might start to show up. Be extra conscious of those and make sure they get written down. Okay, so repetitively, get your parts listed on paper. Repetitively, keep notes and journal what you see, okay? The journaling is important. Journaling's not natural for everybody. So even if it's not natural for you, find ways of scribbling down notes during this process. Okay, the last part, and I want to explain this part clearly. Each of you choose an important conversation that comes up with someone else. This is another human being, okay? These are not internal conversations. I want you to choose an important conversation that comes up with someone else. It could be at work, at home, or any place. that you would be willing to share with your exercise partner at our next workshop. So now listen, I'm going to talk two ways. Many of you will be at the next live workshop, and you have a communication partner in the workshop, so you'll be sharing this with them. Those of you who are on webinar only, we will, at the end of this call, I'm going to group you guys up so that you have a partner. I may just send you an email with each other's phone number on it so that you guys can do this work. Wait a minute, scratch that, I'm sorry. No, you're still going to choose this, and then at our next workshop, we'll determine how you're going to do the sharing. So I apologize, I created that confusion. So each of you choose an important conversation that comes up with someone else at home, work, or other that you're willing to share with your exercise partner next workshop. Number two, pick a conversation between you and one other where you feel that the energy or the outcome is significant. So you're looking at two different conversations. One is an important conversation that matters to you. The other one is a conversation that has a lot of energy around it. It could be in your love life. It could be with your family member, something significant that brings up energy. Maybe it could be positive energy or negative energy, but I want it to be an energetic conversation. So I'm going to give you another 30 seconds or so to scribble down your assignment so you have it in existence and that you actually get this work done. Also, make sure that you know that our next live classroom in Sacramento is November 12th at the DoubleTree at 7 p.m. Our next live webinar, Saturday, November 14th. All right, now I'm going to move into our last conversation for this morning. Resistance is the source of all discomfort. When you bring awareness to the forefront, when you are aware of who you are, who or what is experiencing this very moment, when you're present to the all of you, the consciousness of you, then resistance starts to show up more radically. So there are frequencies that you and I have been conditioned to resist. And when we resist something, that which we resist persists. In fact, you get stuck with it. These resisted frequencies design the storyline of our right now life. So imagine resistance, if you will, in your mind's eye as pushing against anything, being that this shouldn't be, whatever this is. And believe me, you guys, every single one of us has something at some moment in time that who we are about it is it shouldn't be. And whatever it is, you could get a lot of agreement from many people that whatever that is shouldn't be. But being this shouldn't be has a cost. And the cost is whatever this is that you're resisting gets perpetuated. Resistance is a kind of addiction. It's a habit that uses so much energy. Energy that if we gave up the resistance could be used in being completely present and aware. Because the skill that we're working on is the skill called awareness. And if you'll just notice right here, right now, every single one of you is a little more aware than you were. You're aware of what's happening inside of you. You're aware of what's happening around you. You're aware of your internal dialogues. You're aware of my voice and the work that we're doing. You're aware of each other. And you're aware of the energy field that we're all sharing. So notice, moment by moment, what you are resisting. And take the case that you're always resisting something. See, the process of melting resistance is really simply the process of relaxing the grip that you have on anything that you believe is true. Your belief system. And your belief system we call your mind. See, we resist things as they are when they conflict with how we think they should be or shouldn't be. The best place to start finding resistance is to find elegant ways, both alone and with each other, to question your belief system. Simply just ask when a story comes up for you, is it true? Is this factual or is it an opinion? Would everybody agree with me? Or is this simply me and a couple of people that might agree? I'm moving because these. I want to go to why are we unaware? So if you consider that this whole course, at least until today, because next session we're going to go into a whole new dynamic, I want to look at if awareness is what we're after, maybe we should look at why we're not aware. One reason we're not aware, and now this is going to give some relevance to why we're doing the Unplugged, is our warp speed, hyperactive culture. It doesn't value or promote personal stillness. It doesn't promote meditation, and it doesn't promote mindfulness. Very few parents and very few school teachers train our children or train us, or in fact us training them, the value of being quiet and aware. We don't get trained in the value of journaling and the actual process of awareness. You and I exist in a culture of a ceaseless barrage of media stimulation, and we simply endure it. So, do you agree that most people in developed societies are relatively unaware of their own thoughts, emotions, and social dynamics? And those same people, if they're unaware of their own thoughts, emotions, and social dynamics, you gotta admit there's no way they could be aware of any personality parts or internal dialogues that are distinct that could, in fact, impact everything in their life around them. So the paradox is this: we won't seek the benefits of greater awareness until we're aware of the cost of unawareness. So, you and I are transformational people, and we love living in the paradox. So make sure that you have our next session in existence. Those of you who will be on the webinar next time, you'll get an invitation to the webinar, just like you did this time. At class number 3, we'll be covering communication bubbles, empathic listening. We'll do some practices together on the conversations that you bring. We'll distinguish the 6 reasons why we actually communicate, and we're going to distinguish respect. It will be an extraordinary session. A lot of meat in that session. I look forward to being with each and every one of you And I'm going to now open the lines to let you share anything to be complete with this morning's session.
You are now unmuted.
I have
Now,
to go.
unmuted.
I love you, and this was awesome. This is Hunter.
Thank you, Hunter. Good day.
Hi, darling.
Is there anything anybody would like to share to complete the call? Can you say your first name?
Thomas,
This is
Joe.
Jeannie.
Yeah, Jeannie.
I just wanted to just check in and also to just say that the resistance is really strong for me. So it was great that you touched on that at the end because it's really what's there for me right now. So it's good to look at and see, and I'm going to keep looking at it.
Yes. Thank you for that, Jeannie. I appreciate it. Joe, you had something?
Yeah, I wasn't able to get the entire assignment copied down in time.
Okay.
Will that be?
I got it, Joe.
Okay.
There you go.
Great.
I'll
Thank
put
you.
it on the screen. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Anybody else?
Yeah, this is Chef.
Yeah, Chef.
Hey, Joe I was in the same boat. I didn't get the assignment, so I see it now. I'm going to copy it down.
Okay. Perfect. And I'll leave it up. Okay.
Charlie?
Yeah, Charlie.
So in getting aware of my parts, there have been times when I recognize myself is present.
Yeah.
And when I am present to that, there's just this immense sense of peacefulness and harmony.
Yeah, right on. Very great. Very great, Charlie. Thank you for saying that.
It's Vondia
Yeah,
Thomas.
Vondia. Yes, darling. Go ahead.
Here's
Vondia.
what I want to say to be complete. There isn't, in my humble opinion, a lot of this going on a Saturday morning. And I am so grateful for this program and you and the opportunity to keep continuing to discover my life as I unfold it. And just thank you for your commitment and your intention for all of us.
Yeah, thank you, Vondia. Really, really
I
thank
have
you.
to second that.
Thank you, everybody.
Ditto.
Thank you, Suzanne. Thanks, Jean. Okay, everybody, I love you, appreciate you, honor you, and respect you. Have a marvelous weekend. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks.
Bye. Thanks, Thomas.